Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Boston University's virtual event. My name is Scott Dyer, and I am the Associate Director of International Admissions here at BU. It is my pleasure to congratulate you on your admission, and we are truly pleased to learn that you have selected Boston University as your home for the next 4 years. Today's virtual event will focus upon the next steps and the immigration process. I've been here at Boston University for the past 14 years, and I've had the great pleasure of welcoming thousands of international students like yourself to our vibrant campus community. While today's virtual event will focus upon the process of how to acquire an F1 student visa, you will also gain a better sense of the people here at Boston University that are ready to support you throughout this process. And believe me, Boston University has a lot of experience supporting international students. Remember that you are in great company here as we host one of the largest international student populations in the United States. In fact, we are the 10th largest host of international students here in the United States. Our students come from more than 100 countries, and so chances are, no matter where you are from, we have experience assisting students from your home country. To further demonstrate Boston University's commitment to international education, we currently have Boston University alumni living in 189 of the world's 197 countries. Today, I will be joined by a number of my university colleagues here who will provide you with guidance as you begin the process of applying for an F1 student visa. In today's program, we will examine important key terms that you should know, which will be presented by Ms. Monique Robert, our Senior Assistant Director of Admission and Immigration. We will also learn more about the International Students and Scholars Office, referred to as the ISSO, from its director, Ms. Jean Kelly, and how they will support you throughout your time at Boston University and beyond. You are also going to hear from a current Boston University student, Mr. Ali Kanai, who will share his personal experience with you in how to successfully apply for and obtain an F1 visa. During the course of this presentation, we welcome you to type in any questions that you have as we have reserved time at the end of this presentation to address as many of those questions as possible. If for some reason your question is more specific to a particular situation, we may in fact write to you directly about it rather than presenting it through this forum. But rest assured that we will get you an answer to your question. That is in fact why we are here today. So to start, we wanted to share a special message from our current Boston University international students who wanted to welcome you personally to campus. Enjoy the presentation.
Boston University.
Félicitations et bienvenue à BU.
恭喜，欢迎来到波士顿大学。
When I come here, I found there are so many international students here, and also there are so many international organizations that we could participate in and to experience different culture. And the diversity of the campus makes me feel like home here.
Congratulazioni a tutti, benvenuti a Boston University.
Sizi çok tebrik ederim. Boston Üniversitesi'ne hoş geldiniz. Every BU student I met is really proactive in their own styles. Everyone's trying to do their best. Everyone's trying to pursue more. So there's always a dynamic and vibrant community feeling.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Boston Université. So the international community has the foundation of why I feel so welcomed and comfortable here at Boston University.
Felicidades, bienvenidos a Boston University.
Congratulations, BU में आपका स्वागत है.
You have that instant community on your campus, but then you also have that community within the city of Boston because there's so many students here, there's so many people going through that same situation, especially for international students. You've got so many international students in the city that you've got that, I guess you could call it a support network on campus. Congratulations and welcome to BU.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us
First and foremost, congratulations to the class of 2023, our new Boston University Terriers. My name is Monique Robert, and I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions and Immigration. I head a team of immigration experts in Boston University admissions who support new incoming students during their visa application process. We will be here with you every step of the way, and we cannot wait to welcome you to campus. Before we walk you through the steps to apply for a visa, I would like to review a few terms with which you will need to be familiar. The first definition is for an I20 immigration form. An I-20 certificate of eligibility for non-immigrant student status is issued to students who will be applying to study in the U.S. on an F1 student visa. My team will issue this document to you after you pay your enrollment deposit. After you have enrolled, we will review your documents and ensure that everything is on file, and then we will issue your I-20. Please remember to check your email regularly for messages from my team and make sure that your email address is up to date. If anything is missing from your file, we will reach out directly to you by email. It is also important that we issue your I-20 to you in a timely fashion, so please do respond to us promptly with any information that we request. Once your I-20 has been issued, we'll ship it directly to you using a private courier service. They're typically able to deliver in most places within 3 to 5 business days, so we will send it to you as quickly as possible. But make sure that your mailing address is up to date, and if it does change, please contact us with any changes. If you have enrolled in the College of General Studies program that will be starting in January, we will issue you your I-20 later on this summer. Once you have received your I-20, you will need to review it to ensure accuracy. The I-20 form will include your personal biographical information, your academic program information, specific program start and end dates, and the estimate for tuition and fee expenses. So you'll want to start by reviewing all of that information, and you can see on this slide kind of the general layout of the form. We'll walk you through that in more depth in just a moment. You will need your I-20 form to apply for your visa and throughout your program. You will use it to pay your Sivas Fee online, to schedule your visa application appointments, to apply for your F1 student visa. You'll need it when you travel into the U.S. You'll present it to Customs and Border Protection officials, and you'll also use it to document your status throughout your program. So be sure to hang on to it, to put it in a safe place, and make copies for your records. I mentioned something called the Sivas Fee. SEVIS is an acronym for the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, which is a tool used by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to monitor the arrival, enrollment, and departures of international students and their dependents. Before you apply for your visa, you will need to pay the Sivas Fee. It's the I-901 Sivas Fee, and most students will be able to pay that fee online using their credit card. We'll show that website in just a moment. For most international students, they will apply for an F1 student visa, which reflects their studies as their primary purpose for traveling to the U.S. Our managing director of our International Students and Scholars Office, Jean Kelly, will be on shortly to walk you through this application process. You will need your F1 student visa to travel to the U.S. You will need it to present it to U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers to request to be admitted to the U.S. In F1 status, and you will need to have your visa to return to the U.S. during your program after leaving on any vacation or breaks. So we are currently in the process of issuing the I-20 forms to all students who will be studying on an F1 visa at Boston University. Many of you have already received your already received your I-20, and are now working to complete the F1 student visa application steps. If you have not received your I-20 yet, please contact us. Our contact information is on the screen there. If you have received your I-20 already, you'll need to follow the next steps detailed in the yellow packet of information that is included with your I-20. We'll start by showing a short video outlining these visa steps, and then we'll hear from our Managing Director of the ISSO, Jean Kelly, who will provide you with detailed information about this process. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to hearing from you.
What helped me a lot is be very organized during the process, trying to plan everything ahead.
You can check all the information about the visa process on the U.S. Embassy's website or the BU ISSO website.
It's a good idea to start once you know which college you're going into.
BU helped me get my I20 form, which is the most important one that you need to go for the visa process.
Go on the U.S. Embassy's website, fill out all the required questions, which is fairly brief.
After that, they send you an appointment letter with a time and a date where you have to go to the embassy and they interview you.
You should definitely check your country's requirements, because every country has different required documents to bring to the interview.
I needed to have my immigration documents, my admissions letter from BU,
Funding documents, my I-20, my passport. The interview itself was pretty fast.
They usually ask you about 4 to 5 questions, and you have to speak in English, and you have to come prepared and just be confident.
They first asked where I was going to study, how long I would be studying, and what would be my major.
Why I wanted to attend BU and who was supporting my tuition.
My advice would be to just be friendly and straightforward. If you don't understand the question, you can ask them again, it's fine.
The person at the embassy was very nice.
Don't feel nervous, just relax.
Everything was relatively quick.
The BU website has a lot of links and a step-by-step process for your visa.
On behalf of the International Students Office, it is my great pleasure to congratulate you on your admissions to Boston University. We have a team of 24 professionals that are available to help you with all of your immigration, visa, and employment needs. So I'm sure that you'll be working very closely with our team of specialists throughout your entire stay. I'm going to spend a little more time to go into detail about the visa application process, but want to remind you that you can start entering your questions in the chat box at any time. So please do start queuing up your questions so that we can help answer all of the questions you may have. So as Monique had indicated, you'll be getting your I-20 soon if you don't have them already. You want to take a really close look at all of the information on that form to make sure it's correct. Make sure your name is spelled exactly as it appears on your passport. Make sure that we have all of your personal and biographical information correct. And make sure it's reflecting the program of study that you're anticipating that you'll be joining, so that you can move your visa application process through as quickly as possible. You also want to take a look at your passport to make sure that that is valid well into the future. While U.S. immigration regulations require that it be valid for at least 6 months after you enter the U.S., we would suggest that if you have an opportunity to extend your passport now while you're working through this process, it might be easier for you to have it valid for as long as possible so you don't have to worry about extending it in the middle of your program. The next step would be to pay your Sivas fee online. You'll need to go to this online website, and again, all of the information has been included in the information we sent with your I-20. you'll need to enter your specific Sivas identification number, which is on your I-20 form. And so you'll need to make sure to have your I-20 with you as you pay your Sivas fee. Once you've paid your Sivas fee, you'll receive a confirmation or a receipt. We recommend that you print that receipt and keep that for your records. The next step would then be to contact the nearest consulate or embassy so that you can schedule your visa appointment. All visa applicants need to go in person for an in-person appointment, so you'll need to schedule a time that's going to work for you. There are some embassies that may be able to schedule very quickly within a week or two, or there may be some embassies that may require 3 to 4 or 5 weeks before you can have your visa interview. So you do want to start the process as soon as possible. Technically, you can apply for your visa a maximum of 120 days before your program start date. So May is the perfect time to initiate your visa application. The next step would be to gather all of the information that you need to submit as part of your visa application. Make sure you have copies of your financial documentation, your Sivas fee receipt, your I-20, your passport, and any other information that you think might be necessary as you plan for your embassy appointment. Once you have your visa appointment, you'll need to explain very quickly and concisely your intentions for traveling to the U.S., your plan to study at Boston University, and provide any documentation that they ask at the window. The visa application interview is usually quite short, so don't expect that you'll be in there for very long. You may have to queue up for a while before your appointment, but generally the interview is pretty short. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for that very brief interview. The next step would then be to wait until you have your visa. Usually it takes a week for the embassy or consulate to issue the visa, but sometimes there might be some additional security clearances. So you want to make sure to give yourself plenty of time to get that visa before you need it at the end of the summer. You want to prepare your travels. Do take a look at your I-20 because it will show that you can only enter the United States a maximum of 30 days before your program begins. So if your start date is 9/3, you can enter the country after August 4th. So you want to plan your travels accordingly because you're only allowed to enter the U.S. in your F1 student status a maximum of 30 days before your program begins. Once you travel to the U.S., you want to be aware of the fact that it does take some time for you to get through Customs and Border Protection clearance at the U.S. Embassy, at the airport. If you have a connecting flight, you want to make sure to give yourself plenty of time from the first place that you enter the United States to your connecting flight to Boston, because it could take 2 or 3 hours to go through that process if the Department of Homeland Security needs additional information or has additional questions. It is a 2-step application process. You apply for your visa, and then you apply for admission to the United States through U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So just make sure you have all of the same documentation with you in your hands as you enter the U.S. through the airport as you would at the visa application. And then the next step would be to come and meet all of us at the ISSO and check in with ISSO so that we can take a look at all of your records to make sure that you've entered the country in the proper status. We can start to get to know you and build relationships with you and continue to update all of your immigration records for the duration of your stay in the U.S. Again, we look forward to welcoming you at the end of the summer and during orientation and working with you throughout your program of study. I'd like to introduce Ali Kine, one of our graduating seniors this year, as well as Monique, back up to start answering all of the questions you've been entering into the chat box. Please join me.
All right. Well, we're back, everyone, here with our current student, Ali. Ali is a senior at Boston University. Ali, will you start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ali Kunay. I am currently a senior studying computer science in our College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm also doing a business minor in our Question School of Business. I'm coming from Ankara, Turkey.
Now, Ali, you are a senior this year, so when you started the visa process, That was nearly 4 years ago, or almost over 4 years ago at this point. Do you remember when you received your I-20 and what your first step was?
Yep, so I was an early decision student, and I applied. I got my I-20 at the end of March, once I paid my deposit. And the process was really smooth. I received it via FedEx in my house mailbox. And then after that, I was able to apply for I paid the Sivas Fee. And then once I paid the Sivas Fee, I applied for the F1 visa through our embassy. It was really easy. Like, I applied online, and then they gave me an appointment slot, like created all my documents, and then just applied. And then I was able to receive my F1 visa at the end of June. So it was really like fast process. Yeah.
What sort of preparations did you make for your visa appointment? What sort of documents did you need to collect?
So I think during this like whole process, it's really important to be organized, because you will have lots of documents. You will have like BU's own welcoming package, which will include the I-20s. You will have like other, for example, receipts from your Sivas payments, and for example, any other related like email confirmations from the embassy. So what I did was I printed out, I copied every single document I received from Boston University, from the embassy, and from the website, including like the confirmation, the receipts, and the US Embassy website also has information about like which type of documents they will ask for. They say like, for example, some bank, like financial status reports, for example, the acceptance letter from Boston University, and all the related like extra information, such as like if you're graduating from high school, like whether you are living in a specific city. So I checked those little like boxes that the embassy showed me, and then I print out those like forms, and I put them all in like a single folder, and I kind of labeled them. And that was really easy, because like during my appointment in the embassy, they asked me like, for example, where will you be studying? And I told them like Boston University, here's the acceptance letter. And then they were able to like see the letter. They said like, so can you tell me more about like the program of study? And then I had like the details from my like major, and I showed them. So it was really easy to like go through the process once I labeled and then like copied everything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Organization is so important, and you'll need these documents again throughout your program. So you'll want to keep them in a safe place. You know, usually a plastic envelope of some sort. You know, a waterproof envelope to keep them safe. And while there are some documents that are standard to every visa interview, Jean, isn't it right that it does vary from location to location? So checking in advance on the website can always be helpful.
It's a great idea. Yeah, most of the common documents are the same, but every once in a while an embassy official may list something on the website, or they may ask for something different in the interview.
Right. And so, Ali, once you had all of your documents together and you arranged your visa interview, can you talk to us a little bit about what that interview was like? Did you have to wait for a while? You know, was anyone there with you? What sort of tips would you give for that?
So I think this is a really critical question, because when I first applied online, the whole process is online. I went to the US Embassy's website, and I choose my own location. I say like Turkey, Ankara, and they show me the like nearest embassy that I have to apply for. And over there, they also show on the website that there are some items that you can bring, but there are also some items that you shouldn't bring. For example, your cell phone, and as far as I remember, something like other than your identification, like your even your wallet, sometimes might be like a little different. So try to keep it minimal. And for example, in Turkey, we had different like kiosks nearby that you can put your phone, but I don't think that will be the case in most of the other embassies. So make sure to not bring your phone and bring your folders. My parents were with me during the process, but they weren't actually able to come inside the embassy. They actually waited outside. The process is like you go into the embassy and they have like a little bit of queue with like everyone who's applying for the visa, and then you go into like a security check-in, which is like multiple processes. So you want to be like as lightweight as possible. You don't want to like carry much. Just bring your little bag with all your like documents, and then like leave everything else, then maybe like your wallet and then like some minimal stuff at home, because you will be going through like security check-ins, and then like once you're in there you kind of wait for a bit, so you don't want to be like you don't want to have too much stuff on you. And in terms of like the interview, I went in there and I waited maybe like an hour. It was kind of busy inside. I waited in the kiosk, and then they give you like a ticket, and they say like once they call your ticket, I went inside this window, and there was like one officer. He asked me if I want to speak Turkish or English, so that was nice. I don't think that may not be the case in every embassy, but they asked me where was I going to like study. I told them I'm applying for F1 visa. I'm going to be in Boston University. I showed them the acceptance letter, and then they asked me questions such as like, can I see your external documents? And I showed them like bank statements, the financial statements. And then lastly, he asked me about, for example, what will I be doing, like what type of major I'm going to be pursuing. And then once I show all of these, he just take a glance, and then he gave me a receipt that's saying like, your visa is going to be processed, and then you can check your status from this like link. And that was it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think it's so important that we review kind of what happens during that process. It's not as scary as it sounds, and just knowing in advance what can be expected of you will really help in your preparation, so that you can sail through this process as smoothly as possible. So then, Ali, after you had your visa interview, how long did it actually take you to receive your visa documents in hand?
So as far as I remember, I applied for my visa on spot in the beginning of June, and it took me nearly like 3 to 4 weeks until I actually got my passport back. And like end of June, I had my F1 visa with my like specific BU identification that said my major, and around like 3 to 4 weeks maybe. Right. My friends, so some of my friends actually got it a little bit later than me. So I think it kind of depends on like the type of season you're applying to. Like if there's lots of students like applying at that point. So just like Jean said, I think it's important to be really early in this process as possible. You want to be on top of your schedule. So what we did was, once I got my I20 and once I paid my Sivas fee, I was able to like take the calendar and see like, this is my orientation start date, which was most international students attend at the end of August, for the last week of August to the orientation. So I took the calendar and I said like, if I apply right now, I checked the website, when will be the earliest date that I could get my visa? And I was able to like kind of plan it out on my own, like what would be the best dates.
Yeah, and that's really the best way to do it, is have that advanced planning, really making sure that you have your visa in plenty of time in advance before you are set to travel to campus. You don't want to be stressed out during the summer or right before classes start and worry about getting your visa in time for your flight. So definitely try to plan in advance as far as you can, really wanting to make sure that you have your visa in hand. I would say no later than, the beginning or middle of August, because you will need to attend that last orientation session at the end of August.
Yes.
So we can start taking some questions from the audience. You guys all have written in a bunch of questions, and so we want to make sure that we leave plenty of time to get to them. So the first question is, do I get the I-20 after the admission deposit or after the first semester deposit? So we will issue your I-20 to you after you pay your enrollment deposit. That's the $650 enrollment deposit that you submit to secure your place in the incoming class. Once we receive that deposit, we will initiate the I-20 process with you. We'll let you know if anything is missing, if nothing is missing, if we can go and issue your I-20 right away, we'll do that for you. But most students will need additional pieces of information before we can issue that I-20. So once you submit your deposit, be on the lookout for an email from the admissions office. And we'll provide you with detailed steps of what is needed and when you can expect to receive your I-20. The next question is, does having 2 passports affect the process? So when you apply for your F1 student visa, and actually before we even issue your I-20, you'll need to let us know which passport or which citizenship you would like to use during your visa application process. But perhaps, Jean, do you have anything to add to how the student selects which passport or which citizenship they use?
I think it depends where they're living, where it might be easier for them to apply for the visa, and which citizenship they wish to use or which passport they wish to use for the duration of their academic program. So usually you're making a decision right at the beginning as to which nationality might be a little bit easier to travel in and out of the United States.
So there was also an additional follow-up question to that of, should I use my Italian or Jordanian passport? If a student is not sure, where can they go to for advice on which one to use?
Well, they certainly can contact the ISSO and talk to an ISSO advisor to try to work through a specific question like that. Again, it really depends on where you're living and how easy it's going to be for you to apply in the country that you're at right now. So hopefully it shouldn't be a difficult decision, but it's certainly worth talking a little bit more.
Absolutely. So then our next question is, if I have a current valid F1 visa from my high school, do I need to apply for a new one? So if you have a currently valid F1 student visa from your U.S. high school, you will be transferring your visa or your Sivas record from your high school to Boston University. And so, you know, most students do not need to apply for a new visa after their Sivas record is transferred. You know, it really depends by country. If you are not sure what requirements you have, definitely reach out to our office, and we're happy to help advise you on that question. The next question is, can I apply for an F1 visa before my high school graduation? And so if you are, you know, currently outside of the U.S. and you do not attend a U.S. school, you can apply for your visa, you know, by starting to pay that Sivas fee, you know, 120 days before your program start date. So that is the beginning of May. We're right in that time frame right now. So even if you have not yet graduated from high school, you are still able to start the application process for your F1 visa. The next question is, I wish to change my program of admission. How can I do that, and how does it affect the I-20? Suppose that would be another question for me. And so if you are interested in changing your program of admission, you can request that change before you come to campus. You would do that by reaching out to Boston University's International Admissions Office to request that program change. The Board of Admissions will re-review your application, and then if we're able to grant that program change at this point in time, we would issue you a new I-20 that has your specific major program of study on your I-20. The major is listed on your I-20, so we would issue you a new one. You are also able to request a program change once you come to orientation and once you step on campus. So you do have the option of waiting until later on to request that change. So the next question is, when will we get our housing assignment? Once you pay your enrollment deposit, you'll be asked to fill out the housing survey. That will ask you for your top 5 choices in housing, and then you'll be assigned a room, and that room assignment will come out, you know, by starting around July 1st, and then the releases will continue into August. Ali, what sort of advice do you have for students to select a room? Where would you recommend that they stay on campus?
Definitely, I think that's the most popular question. Everyone's trying to figure out where to live. But first of all, as far as I know, you get your housing statements by July 1st, so you don't have to worry about like, when will I get it? You are guaranteed to have a room. And in terms of like where to live, I think mostly like freshmen should look into their classrooms. For example, if they are trying to major in College of Arts and Sciences, most of their classes are going to be in the east portion of our campus. So, for example, Warren Towers might be a good idea. It's one of the like predominantly freshman dorms, which is, I think, a really good idea because like you want to be with students who are on the same boat with you, because it might be a little bit like even a better process when like everyone's trying to do the same process on the same dorms. Other than that, we also have West Campus. For example, if you're in College of General Studies or if you're in Institute of like School of Hospitality Administration, it might be nice to like live on the west portion of the campus. We also have some athletes who are mostly living in the west portion. I personally lived in Warren Towers in my freshman year in a double, and we have like BU Housing sends you like a form that says like, are you a type of like early riser? Do you like to, for example, go to sleep late? Do you study late at night, early in the morning? And you kind of like fill out different questions. And based on that, plus your like location preference, they send you a confirmation such as like you are going to be living in Warren Towers with like this roommate. You also have the option to actually choose your own roommate. We have a Facebook group that I applied online. You I think once you get your package in one of the like marketing advertisements, it says like BU's like Facebook page. So for me, it was like BU class of 2019. Went by fast, and I applied there. People were asking like, I would like to room at this, like anyone looking for a roommate in Warren Towers, anyone interested in West. And once you have that, you can also register. You can also request a specific roommate to live with if you want to.
Right. So if you do find someone on social media or someone from your area that you know and you'd like to live with them, if you both request each other, the housing office will place you together. But it's also through the housing survey, they're going to pair you with someone. If you didn't request someone specific, they'll pair you with someone who has kind of a similar lifestyle, so that you are kind of on the same daily timeline, that you both get up early, that one's not getting up much earlier before the other one. And there are many videos on our website as well. We have virtual tour videos of many of the residence halls on the housing website, just bu.edu/housing. You can find the floor plans for the different residences. Many of them, like the larger residences, you can kind of see they have an open floor plan, so they're going to be more social. It'll be very common rooms, easy to make friends, which is always what you are looking to do as you're first starting out. There are a wide variety of options, though. There are some smaller residences where their floor plans are more compartmentalized, so they might be a little bit quieter. Some of the residences are themed as well along Bay State Road, and you send in a special application to live in some of those residences. So you can really kind of pick a room that fits your own personality and lifestyle. Like Ali said, if you are an athlete or like to go to the gym and work out, our fitness and recreation center is in West Campus, so maybe that's what you'll want to do first thing in the morning, so you'll want to stay there. Maybe you see yourself venturing into downtown more often, so you'll want to live in a residence closer to East Campus. It really depends on your own personality, but you'll meet great students no matter where you are. Let's see, our next question is, will you post this whole presentation for replay? Yes, of course we will. It'll be posted on the College Week Live website, so you'll be able to reference it there. We'll also be sending out an email with a link to this presentation as well, so it'll be saved in your email to refer back to at any time. Our next question is, I paid a Sivas fee for a summer program last year. Do I need to pay a new Sivas fee? And I guess, Jean, that would really depend on their personal circumstance, right?
Yes, if it was a Sivas Fee program for just last summer at a different school, then chances are you'll be receiving a brand new I-20 with a new Sivas identification number, and so you will need to pay the Sivas fee again to begin your Boston University program. The exception would be if we can transfer your Sivas record from your previous school to Boston University. But there are some regulations that require that that be done within specific time frames. So if you haven't been here since last summer, then chances are you'll need to start all over again. If you're moving from a high school that's just ending this month or next month, then you might be able to transfer your Sivas record and therefore would not be required to pay the fee again.
Right. So really, as Gina's saying, depends on your personal circumstance. Do send us an email or call us and ask, what you specifically need to do. We are here for you. This is why we are here, to help you. So do reach out to us, and we'd be happy to look into your case and give you the best advice we can. Let's see, our next question is, when will I get my welcome packet? Your welcome packet, that physical red packet that comes in the mail, will actually be sent along with your I-20 form. So if you have not received a welcome packet already, you will receive one along with your I-20. But actually all of the information contained within your welcome packet is online on your MyBU portal webpage. So if you log in there, any invitations or next steps, information is all through your portal as well. But your physical red packet, which I know everyone loves to have, and the stickers that come with it, will be coming in the mail along with your I-20. Let's see, our next question is the acceptance letter included in the welcome packet? And yes, it is. So you'll receive a copy of that welcome letter in your packet, and that copy is for you to take along with you to your visa interview. And let's see, the next question is, after you have submitted your passport for your visa, what else needs to be done? So Jean, can you talk a little bit more about the documentation process?
Sure. So you'll want to follow the instructions that the embassy has given to you. So as Ali mentioned, you should receive a receipt or some kind of documentation explaining what the next steps are. It does vary a little bit from country to country. So it may be that they're going to mail the passport back to you, so you just wait for the passport. Or it may be that you need to make arrangements to go back and pick your passport up. So it kind of depends on the embassy and the process that they require that you go through. So you want to follow the instructions that they give you. They should also have some information about that on their individual websites as well. But while you're waiting for your visa, you want to make sure that you're scheduling your travel plan. So get your plane tickets, make sure you've completed all of your housing paperwork, and make sure that you're doing everything else to select an orientation program and get ready to study for the fall. Do you have any other suggestions, Ari?
Maybe going to the Facebook page.
Go to the Facebook page, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the WeChat or whatever social media you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Absolutely. Start getting connected, and as Jean said, look at what kind of your next steps are coming down the road.
Yep.
You do have a calendar timeline through your MyBU web portal, and one of those things on the timeline, of course, is your orientation. There are multiple orientation sessions throughout the summer, so you can come to an orientation session in June or July if you would like to, but some students will make the trip to campus just once and come to orientation right before classes start. In order to register for orientation, you'll first need to set up your Boston University email address. After you pay that $650 enrollment deposit, about a week after you pay your deposit, we will send you an email with instructions on how to set up your BU email address. Once that address is set up, you'll be able to go and register for your orientation. If you have not received that email yet, or you're having trouble with your account, contact BU Admissions and we will help get you that information. The orientation dates this year for the last orientation session, it starts Wednesday, August 28th and ends on Saturday, August 31st. Then you will have the weekend for an activities fair called Splash, for matriculation ceremony, and then classes will start on Tuesday, September 3rd. Ali, do you remember your move-in weekend? What was one activity that you did over the weekend before classes started?
Yep, so I actually attended the last orientation, and I think international students are mandatory to attend the last one. I came with my parents, and I didn't actually know when was the best day to actually move into campus, so we just came in and then we talked. I was living in Warren Tower, so we just walked in. There's residence life office, and I asked if I could move in early. I had some luggages, and they actually let us take the keys, go into the room, and then leave our stuff. So that was really convenient. If you come in early, if you only leave some of your stuff, luggages, you can definitely do that if you talk to residence life office. And then, like you said, I attended the orientation for 4 days, and after that, on the last day, we had the matriculation. That was really nice, the ceremony. And on the Splash, I think that was my most memorable memory. We had Nickerson Field, an open area where all the clubs and organizations on campus, they come there. They brand their own club. You get free stuff. Lots of you can apply for different their organizations. You apply for their email list. And at the end of the day, I think I had maybe 25 different emails from all over the place, Italian club and then cooking club. We have different, for example, beekeepers club. If you're interested in that, we have a people's watching club that you going to a cafe, you watch people. It's really interesting. We also have something called the Eat Your Way Through Boston, which is BU funds you to go try out different restaurants. I was able to definitely go into their booth. They also had free food there, so that was really nice experience to go in there, meet with other students, have orientation, and then after that sign up for different clubs and organizations. Yeah.
Yes, and at one point buy your books, right?
Buy the books, yeah. We have, so when I first came in, we had Barnes & Noble in our east portion of the campus. Now it's right next to my house, which is located in the west portion of the campus. You can also buy like different swags, different like sweatshirts. That's also nice.
Absolutely. Everyone wants their hoodie when they first get to campus. And so for the orientation, as I mentioned, there are multiple sessions throughout the summer in June and July. And actually any student can attend the earlier sessions. So if you attend school within the U.S. or you're able to make the trip here for a couple of days for orientation, we would encourage you to do that orientation session during June or July. But again, if you only wanted to just make that trip once, coming from overseas and attend that last orientation session, you're welcome to do so. What Ali had mentioned was the mandatory international orientation, and that is on Friday the 30th.
Correct.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
Yes. And can you talk a little bit about what that entails?
Absolutely. So that afternoon is specifically designed for new international freshmen and transfer students. And that's where a lot of the ISSO staff will be offering presentations specifically to target some of your needs and your questions. Sometimes you have some questions that might be a little different than U.S. students. So you're with U.S. students for most of the orientation program during that 3 to 4 day time frame, but the afternoon on Friday is specifically for international students. We cover things like student health insurance, health and wellness. We cover information about academic success. We give you some tips for succeeding in the U.S. classroom, tips for how to navigate the U.S. classroom, because it's usually a little bit different than what you're used to back in your home country. We give you a lot of information about your F1 student or J1 student immigration status, a lot of tips about how to maintain status, and just point you in the direction of all of the different support resources available at the university to help you throughout your stay.
And Jean, this next question you might be able to help out with as well. So the question is, if I have an F1 visa, can I use global entry, or do I need to see an agent?
Generally, you need to see an agent the first time you enter the U.S. in F1 student status, but I believe you can use global entry after that. So it will really depend on your first entry. You need to make your first entry as an F1 student through an agent. And then after that, you should be able to use global entry. Do you use global entry, Ali?
I think so. I don't have it.
Yeah.
My friend has it. He's a Mexican citizen.
Yeah.
And I think it mostly works, but then in some cases, although he goes to the robot, he shows his passport, scans it, it shows go see an agent, and then he shows his I20. And I think it depends on if it's a near, because every year you have to get your I20 signatures removed, which is basically really easy. You go into the ISSO's office and then they just sign it saying that you're a student in Boston University. I think they check it during those times. If it's a timeline, specific timeline, they ask for an agent.
Yeah, so your first entry will definitely be with an officer.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to use global entry moving forward, but sometimes they still ask for you to see an officer. So, so you just want to follow the instructions they give you. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just always be prepared to see the officers. And another tip too is just really making sure that you bring all of your immigration documents on your person when you travel. So don't put them in your checked luggage. You will need access to them. You could be asked for your documentation at any time. So just bring them on your person and make sure that you do have access to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And Jean, this next question, if a student has a visitor visa, will it be canceled?
And that also depends on the embassy or consulate. So in some cases, they'll allow for you to have 2 valid visas in your passport. If that is the case, you want to make sure that you're very, very specific when you enter the U.S. as an F1 student, that you let them know that you're using your student visa and you present your I-20 and indicate that you're looking to enter the U.S. as a student. Because what you don't want to do is enter as a tourist in the middle of your F1 program or in the middle of your studies. So sometimes they might cancel it for you, sometimes they'll leave it valid, but you have to be really careful to make sure that you're using the right visa every time you enter, because you should be using the F1 visa once you've begun your program through the duration of your studies.
And Jean, can you talk a little bit about a student who might want to enter on a visitor visa for orientation?
Sure. Sure. So if you have a valid visa, or if you're from a country that doesn't require a visa to travel to the U.S., you might be able to travel to the U.S. just for a few days or a few weeks to visit campus. check out housing options, attend the orientation, and then you can go back to your home country and then make sure you use your new F1 student visa when you enter at the end of the summer as you're ready to begin your program of study. So sometimes students will want to just travel quickly throughout the summer, use a visitor visa at that point, and then make sure to use that F1 visa at the end of the summer.
Right. So you just always need to be careful and ensure, as Jean had said, which visa status you're entering in on every time you come into the U.S. And Jean, I know one thing that you cover during the international student sessions is about work and internships on campus. There's a benefit of being on an F1 student visa. Can you talk a little bit about the ability for an F1 student to work?
Sure, and I think that's the biggest question we get at orientation as well. So you are allowed to work on campus, which means an on-campus job in one of the dining halls, one of the academic research units. You can work at a lot of different offices on campus, but you're only allowed to work on campus, on the BU campus. And you're only allowed to work for a maximum of 20 hours per week during the academic year. So the F1 immigration regulations really want you to concentrate on full-time studies. And so they restrict the amount of work that you can do on campus to 20 hours or less, or part-time, so that you'll have plenty of time to be able to get through your homework, get through your program, and really concentrate on your studies. During the summer, in between your freshman year and your sophomore year, or as you progress through the program, you can exceed that 20-hour maximum. You can work up to full-time or even more in your on-campus job, provided you're not taking classes. So you just want to be thinking about part-time work during the academic program. There are some opportunities for work if you are participating in an internship that's part of your academic program. Then you'd need special work authorization for that, which ISSO specializes in. And then there's work opportunities or work permission available to you to apply for at the end of your program if you decide you want to stay in the U.S. and maybe work for a year after you graduate. So you sort of want to think about things incrementally or chronologically as you move through your program. So the first type of work is usually the on-campus employment, and then maybe that work permission for an internship in the middle of your program, and then that work permission that's available to you at the end. So there's a lot of different types. There's a lot of information about work options on the ISSO website as well. So do check that out while you're thinking about options.
Can I add one
small
detail? So I was able to work on campus starting my freshman year spring semester, and I found a job on our job board listing. BU has like a specific list where you can see like different options on campus, and I found that admissions office was looking for an desk staff to give like different presentations to the families, and I applied online. I needed to fill out a little form in the ISSO's office, and based on that, I was able to get my social security number, and then I was also able to get work authorization to be on campus. So I was doing part-time jobs with the admissions office, and then once I got that, during the summer, I also applied for an internship, which was off campus, but then ISSO once again helped me like file the different work authorizations, fill out the forms, and I was able to actually do an off-campus internship as well.
That's great. Great. And you're still working now?
Yes, and even like after graduation, I was still able to apply for post-graduation job opportunities with like work authorization as well.
Perfect. And Ali, just because it is so close to graduation, would you mind telling them what you are going to be doing in a few months for your position?
After graduation, I was able to get a job offer from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I will be starting with them at the end of August as their data analytics associate.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Really exciting.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Thank you.
So let's see, our questions have circled back around to move-in and residences. So students will move into their residences during the last week of August. So if you are attending the last orientation session, you will actually move into your residence on campus when you arrive for orientation. And so that will be the 28th of August. If you're attending the last orientation session. If you have already attended orientation session and you are moving in, then you will move into your residence on the 31st. And you can move in earlier if you want to. The 28th is the earliest date that you can move in to your residence. And if you have any questions about moving in, if you need any help moving in, questions about luggage or shipping things in advance, please reach out to our housing office. They have a large staff waiting to help you there. Our next question is, if I need to take a leave of absence for military service, does BU help with that? So we do have some students coming from nations where military service is required, and typically, some students will do that before they start their university studies. And so if that is you, if you're in that scenario, you can request deferred admission or deferred enrollment. There's a form on our website, and you are able to defer your enrollment for up to 2 years. And so just you want to submit that form before August 1st, and so we're able to review that request for you.
There are some students that want to take a leave of absence in the middle of their program as well. So sometimes perhaps in between freshman and sophomore year to participate in military service. And so there are a number of different offices that you can work with to take that leave of absence. And you'd also work with the ISSO to make plans to renew your visa and renew your I-20 documentation to be able to return after you've completed service. So we can certainly help you with that as well.
Absolutely. Students are on such a wide variety of timelines. The university is certainly accustomed to and more than happy to support you with any of your needs.
So I had a South Korean floor mate, and at the end of sophomore year, one day he came up to me and said, like, I'm going for military service. And then he left the next day. It was like end of the winter period. And then he left, and then he told me that he will come back this year, like in 2020, back to finish his like junior and then senior years.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
It's funny, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last question is orientation mandatory for parents? We do have parent programming during orientation. There are many questions that they have that parents want to have answered, that they want to see you settled and acclimated before they leave you for your studies. So we do have parent programming, and parents are actually able to request rooms in our campus's residences during orientation as well. Don't worry, they will be in a separate residence hall from the students, a little bit quieter. Students can have their time as well. But we do encourage parents to come for orientation as well if they are able to. We have another question here. For the visa interview, do I need to show funding for the whole program or just for 1 year? So on your I-20 immigration form, it will list the cost of attendance for 1 year of study at the university. And in order to make that I-20, we will have asked you to show funding that demonstrates the ability to pay for 1 year of education at BU already. So you'll already have that documentation when we have issued your I-20, and you'll bring that same documentation with you to your visa interview.
They may ask you at the interview how you intend to pay for your further years of study. So while you're not necessarily required to show additional documentation, you should be prepared to answer how you'll continue to fund maybe year 2, 3, and 4, just so that you can convince the consular officer that you've got a good plan in place to be able to complete your program.
Absolutely. You'll really want to be prepared for your visa interview, anticipate their questions. In the yellow packet of information that we provide to you, also on many of our websites, we have example questions of what you could be asked by the consular officer. So do look at that in advance to prepare yourself for your visa interview.
And it sounds really complicated, but it's not. We have over 900 new international students that join us every year, and so you'll get through the process just like everybody else does.
Absolutely, and we are all here, waiting to help you with this process. We really want to support you throughout it. So please do, contact us throughout your visa application process and throughout the summer, so that we are able to, ensure the smoothest process for you. You can see all of our contact information on your screen there. Again, we'll email you a copy of this presentation, so please, do get in contact with us. But thank you all so much for tuning in today. We appreciate your time, and we can't wait to welcome you to campus. Once again, congratulations, new Terriers.